The University of Virginia community is also honoring the victims of that mass shooting from 1 year ago. New tonight, the student body at UVA hosted a memorial service to honor the 49 victims who lost their lives at the nightclub in Orlando, Florida. This all unfolded on the steps of the rotunda along University Avenue. The 2-hour-long event included an opportunity for people to create art and share their tributes.
Do not hate. Hate is not so good. And to be paranoid is a bust. Feel the love that comes from us and try to feel love that you can offer, at least from within yourselves, for yourselves.
People also read the names of those killed out loud during the ceremony. The event helped to promote equality and diversity. The University of Virginia community is also honoring the victims of that mass shooting from 1 year ago. New tonight, the student body at UVA hosted a memorial service to honor the 49 victims who lost their lives.
Warning. The following are thoughts and opinions that belong to 4chan and Reddit. They do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Something strange happened to me in the bathroom. While I was showering in the morning, something strange happened to me. I was washing my head, and when I closed my eyes I visualized a dark room with white candles lit, a Ouija board and 666 on a wall. It was a matter of seconds. When I saw that I got scared and opened my eyes immediately. I didn't see any movie about it, nor was I thinking about those things. It just happened suddenly about 3 days ago. Will it have any meaning? So here are all the anomalies we know about 3I/Atlas. There's been a lot of hype regarding the object 3I/Atlas, the third known interstellar visitor to pass through our solar system. Some scientists, most notably Avi Loeb, think it might be an alien object. Here are some of the anomalies we know about it thus far. These are mostly from the work done by Avi Loeb. Front-facing glow, not a trailing tail. Hubble images show a bright glow ahead of the object rather than a tail pointing away from the sun, unlike typical comets. Layman terms, it's like a car driving with its headlights on in the back seat instead of in front. Comets aren't supposed to shine this way. Absence of detectable cometary gases. Spectroscopy found no common comet gases, example CN, C2, C3, CO, which is very unusual. Layman terms, when you check its breath, it's not breathing out the usual stuff comets do, it's suspiciously clean. Improbably aligned trajectory. Retrograde orbit but within 5 degrees of the ecliptic plane, chance is 0.2%. Layman terms, imagine someone swimming against the current but perfectly staying in the main traffic lane. It's not impossible, but extremely rare. Precisely timed planetary flybys. Path is perfectly timed for close approaches to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, chance 0.005%. Layman terms, it's like a tourist bus showing up exactly when all 3 famous landmarks are having special events. The timing feels planned. Large nucleus size. Brightness implied 20 kilometers diameter at first, later refined to 0.3 to 5.6 kilometers, still large for interstellar debris. Layman terms, for something just passing by, it's built like a cruise ship, not a dinghy. Water activity far from the sun. Detected O and water vapor at 3.5 astronomical units, where water usually doesn't sublimate efficiently. Layman terms, it's leaking water while still out in the freezer zone, way before most comets would start melting. Dust-driven acceleration. Dust loss of 6 to 60 kilograms a second, producing a small but measurable push not caused by gravity. Layman terms, it's like the object has tiny thrusters made of dust, slowly nudging it along without any obvious engine. Exceptionally high velocity. Traveling up to 210,000 kilometers per hour, fastest interstellar visitor yet recorded. Layman terms, if the solar system were a town, this thing is the sports car that just blew through at breakneck speed without stopping. Hopefully there will be more funding and time spent into this so that as more data is gathered, the nature of it becomes more clear. Something has been coping my brother. Hi y'all, I'm pretty sure there's something in my house that's been mimicking my brother. It's very strange. The first experience I had with it was years ago. It started when I went to bed. I made a mental note that I forgot to fill my water bottle and that I would just refill it when I woke up tomorrow. After relaxing in my bed, I fell asleep. Later, I woke up in the middle of the night. I don't remember what time it was, but I was really thirsty and decided to go to the bathroom. I got up from my bed, picked up my water bottle, and headed to the bathroom. For context, you can see my brother's and parents' rooms when you are walking to the bathroom. I looked into my parents' room and saw my brother looking at my father's side of the bed. I thought he must have been sick, or I was just very sleepy and seeing things, so I went into my bathroom, got some tap water, and did my business. I was in the bathroom for maybe 5 minutes. When I left, I looked back into my parents' room and still saw my brother. I started walking over to see if he needed anything. I got halfway down the hallway until I realized it didn't feel like him, something was off. I got the urge to check on my brother, so I looked in his room and saw him sleeping in his bed. I looked back, and the figure was still there. I was confused, so I just walked back into my room and fell asleep. When I woke up, I was confused because I thought it was a weird dream. I reached for my water bottle and realized it was half full, which meant that everything had happened last night. I later asked my brother if he was in our parents' room last night, and he said no. Another time was when I was sitting in my room playing video games. I heard the garage door open, and my dogs started barking. I could hear the door open, and my brother's voice say to my dogs, "Get off." It was faint but still there. The dogs calmed down. It was quiet besides some noise from downstairs and the curtains opening. After a while, I heard my brother's footsteps go up the stairs before stopping. I looked at my door because it's impossible to get to his room without passing mine, but he never came. I got up and walked to the stairs. No one was there. My dogs weren't there. The house was completely silent. I was confused, so I walked downstairs. Things were open like doors. The toilet seat was left up and the curtains were open, but no one was there. I opened the door to the garage that was cracked open and no one was there. No car, no nothing. I honestly don't know what to make of this situation. There are more stories of whatever is copying my brother, but those were the big ones, and sorry for the long story. I summoned a demon when I was 14 and I think it's back. I'm going to summarize the story so I don't end up typing a novel here. I used Solomon rites to summon the demon. Specifically the lesser keys of Solomon. The night that I did it with my friends, nothing really took place until I went to sleep. I had a nightmare that I was being chased by some entity outside my house. When I woke up, I had my sneakers on and wet grass still covered them. Other scary things happened, including me being kicked out of a seminary over this, but they become too unbelievable and I don't feel like being called a liar on here. Anyways, I'm 25 now and hadn't thought about this event in my life for years. Then a few weeks ago I was in New Orleans with my girlfriend and we got to one of the tourist trap voodoo priestess places to get our fortunes read, and this lady is charging $300, like I said, a tourist trap. And we pay and get sent to the back, and not does the priestess immediately panic, saying that she could see I was touched by the devil and they kick us out. They even gave us our money back to get us out of there faster. Now the past 3 nights I've had the same nightmares from when I was a kid. Now why I'm so posting this here? Honestly, I just feel like there should be a record of this or something, and it's also a precautionary tale not to dabble in the occult. What is happening? I'm not sure if this would be considered paranormal, but since I was 12 I've had dreams of things happening and they happen word for word. That causes massive deja vu. I'll have the dreams one day to a week before they happen no longer. I've also felt things about people like a strong strange sixth sense of wow, this person is hiding something, or they did something very specific and it checked out. It got stronger once I got into manifesting anything I journaled to would happen, but also my irrational anxieties would, so I got away from it. I'm 21 now and I'm still consistently having these dreams and them happening. I have no idea what it is or anything. Would love any insight. I've also had visitation dreams from my dead dog who passed on years ago, or from one of my mom's friends who passed on, showing me where she was buried. I opened a book in my dream and what it said freaked me out. Last night I had one of the strangest dreams I can remember. I woke up in my bed but noticed my phone glowing bright green. The only app on it was some weird compass I've never seen before. I tapped it and the arrow spun like crazy before locking onto a direction. I followed it and suddenly my house turned into this massive underground subway station. It was totally empty and silent, just endless tunnels. The compass kept pointing me deeper until I reached these huge black double doors. When I opened them, I was standing in a library that stretched out forever. Floating ladders, books with blank spines, and whispering voices with no faces. One book flew off the shelf into my hands. I opened it and every single page just said, "You are still asleep." Right then my whole body started buzzing, like sleep paralysis, and I shouted "wake up" in the dream before finally snapping awake. It honestly shook me. Has anyone else had a dream that straight up tells you you're dreaming? Necklace that is following me. Oh, a few weeks ago at school I found this necklace. I looked at it and thought it was ugly and tossed it. My friends saw me toss it, they even said so. A week later it appears in my room on the floor in a spot where I don't take my clothes off, so there's definitely no way I misremembered taking it home and dropping it on the floor after taking off my clothes or something. Even if I did take it, I would have put it in my drawer after taking it or my pockets. Now my theory is it has some sort of energy that is connected with mine, causing it to reappear in my room. Anyway, I'm not sure what this could mean and if it's bad. If anyone has any ideas. Here is a story I was told. Just putting it out there so it is not lost. I was at a new cinema going into a movie when I ran into a sheriff's deputy from a central WA state county that snubs up against Canada at the northern border. He was talking about this hunting cabin he and a couple others were fixing up on their days off not too far from the border. They had to use ATVs for a few miles from where the trucks were parked and towed a trailer with a metal strapped load of 2x4s. While they were gone, a bear had torn the 2x4 bundle apart and thrown most of the boards into a nearby ravine, breaking many of the 2x4s also in the process. The bear also pushed the ATV down the hill a few hundred yards, almost like it rode it. The most weird message of my entire life. One morning, when I open my phone, you see a notification from an unknown account. The message says, "You haven't noticed, have you? Look around you. You've seen this face before, but you don't know where. You've forgotten us, but we haven't forgotten you. I don't understand what's going on. I keep thinking, but I end up believing it's just a simple phishing scam." I blocked the user, thinking it's fake. But everything I thought was wrong, because 10 minutes later, I get another message, "Why did you block me? Are you scared? What's going on? I just want to help you. This is all I know. If you can figure out what it means, let me know." Day 2, all of his account are blocked. I don't know if it's just paranoia, but I always see my family on social media. It's very weird. Say me if it only paranoia. I start to be scared. I will talk with him and say what info he'll got. Note, he probably says the truth. He'll trust him. It can't be a scam. I just realized my mom isn't normal. I always thought my mom was just incredibly intuitive, but I'm starting to realize it's something much more. She's been this way for as long as I can remember, but in the last few years, I've started noticing it more. You literally cannot lie to her about anything. She just somehow knows everything. She told me she gets her information in different ways. Sometimes she sees things in her dreams, sometimes she just gets random images, and other times she says things whispered to her. She never, ever gets it wrong. Today, my little brother got lost, and my family was panicking, searching everywhere for him. When we finally found him, he was scared and lied, saying some man had stopped him on his way home and tried to take his bicycle. We all believed him, but my mom immediately said, "He's lying." After a little while, she took me aside and told me exactly where my brother had been and what had happened, in the smallest, most specific details. I was shocked. I went and talked to my brother again and made him tell me the truth. He repeated the story my mom had just told me, literally word for word, as if he was copying her. I was absolutely floored. It was so creepy. Then my mom went and yelled at my brother, and this is what really sealed it for me. She told him, "Never try to lie to me again. You're not dealing with a normal mom. It's me, and I have my people with me and they're everything. You better fear for yourselves." At that moment I myself got scared. Somehow she looked scary, like she wasn't mom. Has anyone ever experienced something like this? What do you think this is? I'm honestly so shaken up by it. My kid has been saying some creepy stuff lately. I'm an absolute wuss regarding these things. Please help. Info that feels important. We moved to this house 2 years ago. Previous owners were here for 2 years, the ones before were here for a year, and the ones before that were here for a decade. They were the original owners. I'm not a witchy person, but I know there's shit out there that I can't explain. I know salt, ash, and blood are powerful tools, and 3 a.m. scares me. Main body of the post: I have a preschool-aged girl. My mother watches her while I work. My mom sent me this text yesterday: "Mom, creepy story. I forgot to plug in the child's tablet and it died. While it was charging, she was on the floor playing with her dinosaurs. She got up, came over to me and asked, 'Why did you open my door? Her door is closed.' I told her that no one opened her door and that it is closed. She said that a person opened her door and stomped into her room and that they were wearing stripes all over. I asked her when this happened, but she just kept repeating the story. Thinking face, I stopped myself from asking if it scared her, didn't want to put that idea in her head. I wasn't sure how to ask her how it made her feel. She seemed to be more curious than scared. Text copied here straight from her texts. Only edit is censoring my child's name for privacy. Around this time last year my kid kept waking up crying about angry eyebrows in her walls. I had her help me rub her walls with salt and burned a candle. It helped a lot. She hasn't been scared or said anything creepy since, until yesterday. Then, last night while I was putting her to bed, she kept looking at her door and quietly crying oh no, and hiding her face. I couldn't get any info out of her, but I had an icky off feeling. Middle of the night, 03:48, there was a loud thud picked up by our baby monitor, but nothing to cause it, and she didn't wake up. I'm trying to convince myself that this was just the cat being a cat, though nothing in the hallway was disturbed. Monitor doesn't record, it's just a cheap one, basically a walkie-talkie. What do I do? What can I do? Should I get my kid into therapy? Should I burn sage that I grew myself? Not smudging, as that's a closed practice, I just know it's a cleansing plant. Should I salt her room again? Add ash? I tried asking in the witch subreddit and then spells subreddit, and they both said this belonged here instead, then deleted my posts. Please help me, I'm scared. CharlieKirk's security and their ties to Israel. I'm adding not suicidal to my bio. CharlieKirk's private security was handled by a detail that sometimes included former Secret Service agents and U.S. Marines. The security team, contracted by his organization Turning Point USA, was led by former FBI agent Greg Schaefer. The internet, and possibly Schaefer himself, is now distancing him from Kirk's security. If you search for a connection, it will tell you that Schaefer's security group stopped working with Kirk in 2022. Despite the supposed security expertise, this is Schaefer's comment about the Kirk shooting: "We typically anticipated close-range threats. There is no proof of any disconnection." A single AP article making that claim yesterday is the only source. You can clearly see that Charlie had the same security personnel in 2022 that he did at the shooting. The people in charge of Kirk's security essentially did nothing to secure the area or inspect rooftops prior to or during the event, despite the fact that it would have been a simple four-man job that could have included cameras for the event. After the shooting, the crime scene was not secured, and they allowed the staff to simply pack up the area. Schaefer frequently comments on Jewish-related attacks and jihadism. He commented on the Texas synagogue attack. One of his few, about 600, posts on Twitter encourages people to get firearms training. He links to an article referencing a shop being attacked possibly because it has an Israeli owner. If anyone has further information on his ties to Israel or Jewish-related groups, please let me know. This will be an ongoing thread. On February 1, 2012, the JNSA New York cabinet hosted Leif Babin, who had recently left active duty with the U.S. Navy SEALs. The Jewish Institute for National Security of America, JNSA, is dedicated to advancing U.S. national security interests in the Middle East, of which a critical pillar is a robust U.S.-Israel security relationship. Charlie didn't turn on Israel, but Israel turned on Charlie. The more I look into it, the more I get the feeling he was considering running for president at some point, and he's clearly not directly loyal to the Netanyahu crew. Schaefer Security Group. T-Pusa Security Firm. Black Small Square Greg Schaefer, CEO, FBI 20 years. Echelon Front. Black Small Square Leif Babin, co-founder, U.S. Navy SEALs. Closely connected to JNSA New York Cabinet. JNSA Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Black Small Square Policy think tank focused on U.S., Israel defense and national security issues in the Middle East. Black Small Square Michael Makovsky Ph.D., CEO. Worked extensively on U.S.-Israel defense ties and U.S. policy towards Syria, Iraq, Gaza, and Middle East. Former Foreign Policy Director for Bipartisan Policy Center. Former Special Assistant in Office of Secretary of Defense. Close to Yahoo. (2017, maybe 2015, I don't really remember). Wenatchee, Washington. BNSF Apple Yard, on the way to Malaga by the highway. East end of the yard, walking a train set, air brake test. Smell poop and copper, yet I know skinwalker but didn't know that at the time. Hear a deer dying call out mixed with a woman screaming like a banshee. Think it's a cougar killing a deer. Sloppy job Mossad the air test and GTFO. Week goes by. Walking another air test. Stank is back. Ominous evil feeling. Hear a voice, like guttural voice, low to high. Come in here, hey come there here. GTFO version 2. That's all. Come. Typo at end, but here's another story. Taking train from Pasco WA to Spokane WA. Double vehicle train, like 2 miles long. Randomly lose our air and go into emergency. On radio, emergency emergency emergency. Tell DS what's going on now, have to walk it? Call wife on walk cause IDGAF about rules and it's a long ass walk. Engineer says middle, DP says brake is in second half of train, he thinks. Walk to the brake, starts to sprinkle a bit, sun is setting, but I have my lantern. I forget the name of the crossing, but it was by a graveyard a few miles away, has a run-down grain silo and half-circle barn thing. Tell engineer to tell DS the hose is ripped, like something shredded the bottom of it, super weird to happen by the way, and I can't fix it because no wrench. Already like 7/12H on duty, so if I have to walk back and get a wrench I'll make sure this is over for me. Oh great, DS has a train coming to throw a wrench at me while they go 30 miles per hour, so watch out. Get wrench, lazy, don't even try to fix it, tell DS send mechanical from Pasco. Told to wait there. Rain picking up, decide to go to the old abandoned rundown grain silo for shelter, has a huge door cracked open pretty wide. Get close, wife says she doesn't like this idea, say haha why you think something's in there? As I do I hear a loud bang on the metal sheet siding from inside, loud enough my wife asks what that was. Hey, I'm okay, something's in there, I'm going to get off the phone so I can scan my surroundings. Okay, love you, bye. Sun sets. Here two-legged walking on the other side of the vehicle, cars where I can't see, ballast is super loud. After that goes away, scanning sector, by ladder of the car. See a set of eyes looking at me from the edge of half-circle thing. They were green reflective. They blinked individually, never at the same time. One would go about 6 or 8 inches lower than the other, then the other would follow to its level. Like something with a huge head was tilting its head down then up over and over. I hold wrench, tell engineer there's a huge dog out here, he says fight it with wrench. Climb to the top if they're auto rack, eyes are gone. 5 minutes later maintenance guy shows up, tell him everything. Looks at me like I'm crazy, we look and there are these 3 toe, 1 huge pad paw prints where the eyes were. End of story. My uncle's story I mentioned in the Appalachia thread, but basically he's convinced he had a run-in with the devil. 1996. My uncle lives in North Carolina at the time, working at an auto garage. Makes good money working 6 days a week because that's his work ethic, also the garage is closed on Sundays. Uncle is coming home from a day at work when he stops when he sees this cherry red Mustang. He guessed it's likely a model from 1965 or 64. Looks like it's having trouble. Driver is this dude he described as looking like he wouldn't look out of place in a golden age of Hollywood film, clothing wasn't old. Looked more business casual. Uncle offers to pop the hood and see if he could figure out the problem since there's very visible steam coming from it. Stranger is very nice, social fella. Seems like he's in no worry or hurry. Uncle takes 15 minutes, looking around under the car hood and under the car itself. There's nothing wrong that he could figure out. Stranger offers to let my uncle inside the car to try something. Something in my uncle tells him to politely decline. Says he'll go back into town because he knows the tow guy and they'll take it to the garage to have a look. As my uncle gets back in his car, out the corner of his eyes he noticed the stranger's eyes are a dull shade of yellow, nothing but yellow. Uncle floors it back to the garage, talks the tow truck guy into going back to the spot. They find the car but no sign of the guy. Car is completely unlocked, no license, registration, anything. My uncle had one of the local cops run plates and it turns out, they're legit, but the guy who owned the car died back in '88. Be me. Work at a regional gas station / convenience store chain on third shift. Town where I live is pretty boring, past the tiny hill where there's houses there's nothing but woods, and a state park if you walk a bit further. Third shift, aka night shift, is pretty fucking boring, you only need 2 people in the store from 10 to 7. Me and my coworker who ran third shift managed to get all our shit done because absolutely nobody, the only people who come into the store are stoners buying snacks, cooked food, and drinks, or crackheads looking to get ciggies and lottery tickets. I hope I'm painting a good picture of just how fucking boring but such easy money this job is. Sometimes we'd hear weird things out by the dumpsters when we'd take turns doing trash runs. Definitely get that spooky vibe once in a while that something is watching you from the nearby woods. One night we get this skinny Mexican kid assigned to third shift with us because it's required by my store manager that every new hire has to work each of the various shifts. Me and the Mexican kid are debating whether or not being attracted to Blair from Soul Eater makes you a furry. Spoiler, it does. My usual co-worker has him do the trash run while we take care of coffee, count ciggies, lotto, and just goof around and do fuck all because that's night shift there. Kid comes back after a bit saying he hears something up in the trees moving around. Call him a pussy and go out there to see just what's in the trees that overlook the dumpster, and that is when I fucking see it. MFW. It's a fucking raccoon in the tree. Go back in and call him an even bigger pussy because it's a fucking raccoon that scared him so badly. Be about 12 or 13. At friend's trailer house. Me, friend and his mom are all in living room. Friend is on PC. Mom is watching TV. Me laying down on couch. Staring at the wall, TV is casting an L-shaped shadow. Suddenly see shadow figure of a man. Only from shoulders up. Shadow turns head, meaning it was looking at me before it turned. Moves into the shadow cast by the light of the TV. Interesting thing to me is that I never felt fear or any kind of dread in that moment, nor walking into the hallway. At friend's house again. Dead of winter. Colder than an in-law's heart. Me and friend are sharing the bed. Too cold to sleep, making jokes to entertain each other. Totes full of Christmas trinkets are to our left. Our chatter is interrupted by the sounds of jingle bells, jingle all the way. Me and friend freeze, and not just because of the cold. Bolt out of bed and rush to the front room. Tell his parents about it. Next morning, we check the Santa figure they have that sings that song. No batteries in it. Be me. Last Christmas. Spent 2 weeks in a psych ward after having a complete breakdown because of the death of a family member I was really close to. One night I can't fucking sleep for the life of me, so I hang out in the commons and read some books to kill time and maybe get tired. The only people on the floor at that time of night was 2 guards, one who has to watch this one guy being kept in his room at all times, don't know what. The other is there because that's apparently a policy of the hospital. Also awake is this one lady who constantly talks about Satan, how Satan is in that hospital and that she sees him everywhere. She's chit-chatting with the guard about God and Jesus and how Jesus saved her and stuff. Look up from the book I'm reading. There's a door at the end of the hall that leads to an outdoor area for the patients during summer. See this dark silhouette of a person staring inside from the out. Wouldn't know how someone would be out there because, December. Go look out that window, look to see what or who'd be out there. Nobody I can see. Try and shrug it off, but religious lady pipes up and says, "Devil, he's outside." I wasn't the only one who'd see strange shadow figures on the floor of that psych ward. A few other patients discussed among themselves that they'd also seen a shadow walk around or past doors late at night. Alright then, let's get started. Be me. 18 years old, summer 2010. Be my first couple weeks where I'm one of the new guys, so the newbies were in charge of the more physical stuff, like setting up the targets for archery, which is what I got stuck doing. The archery range is away from the road but a bit back in the woods because of reasons I'll never understand. I'm getting everything set up so the older counselors can bring the kids up there later that morning when I start hearing this whispering. Kind of. At first I think it's some hikers because this camp is literally next door to a state park and sometimes people wander off the hiking paths and end up there. We found a pair of stoners in the camp's lodge once because of that. Look around, thinking this is one of the older counselors fucking around with me because we did shit like that to each other. Nobody. Look further, see nobody, promptly shrug it off as someone in the woods and be on my way. The camp, as I mentioned before, has a lodge, this big ass structure with an office, nurse's office, and foyer upstairs, and downstairs is the showers plus storage. I'm on my break at the lodge, eating when I mentioned that I think I heard someone out by the archery range. One of the older counselors, this dude named Brandon, tells me, "Oh, you too?" "Yeah, so do I. Took a troop on a trail hike around there and some of the kids mentioned hearing someone." Learned from another counselor that that stretch of woods and road is apparently the site of a hit and run back in 1972, and that strange stuff happens in the woods surrounding that stretch of road. Full disclosure, I do not live in the same town as the camp. I love 2 towns over, and this is my first time hearing this. Be a few days later. Learn people have also seen shadows out the corner of their eyes, that late in the day that stretch of road starts feeling creepy. One from my first overnight stay. Yeah. Overnight stay is basically once in a while where the kids get to stay overnight, pretty simple. There's essentially a skeleton crew of counselors, like 4 total. We set up in this patch of woods where we have a fire running to cook hot dogs, s'mores, that type of stuff. It's not long before we've gotten the kids to go to sleep. Us 4 counselors shoot the shit, drink. Yes, we had a counselor who bought a group of 18 to 20-year-olds booze. Were we supposed to? No, but we managed to conceal that fact. Randomly we start hearing someone walk around in the area immediate to the campsite. It's unmistakably a person. Assume it's someone trekking through the woods. This one girl turns on her flashlight to get a look at who'd be walking around this close to our camp. Nothing. No one. But there's definitely someone walking around. The 2 ballsiest of us go and explore further, and we're looking around some more. There's this outline of a person that we assume is a shadow, so we walk towards it. Get there. Nobody. We see this outline of a human again, this time about 100 yards from us. Then like that it's gone. Neither me or the guy who looked for the source of the sounds could explain it, but once it's gone we just go back to camp. It's definitely something we talk about the next day. Be me, audio recording tech. Service a shit ton of indie bands who have zero chance at a career. Be sent to a job on location for both an album track and music video shoot. Band is recording at an old abandoned boarding school, closed since the late 60s. School looks like one big mansion out in the middle of nowhere. Very cool looking, not going to lie. Band not half bad either. Sexy lead female singer. Myself and an intern set up for recording in grand dining hall. Record multiple takes. Everything running smoothly. Go to monitor the mixing console. Monitor each instrument and vocal track. Everything sounding good and going better than expected. Isolate lead female vocals. Really fantastic voice. Very creepy and ethereal, almost unnaturally angelic. Notice a chorus effect on the voice. Chorus effect makes it sound like more than one person singing. Not professional to add effects during recording. Recording should always be dry. Immediately become irate with the intern. Go to find him. Find intern and lay into him. Intern denies using chorus effect. Take him back to mixing console and have him listen to lead female vocals. Intern hears it too, another female voice stacked above the lead singers. Almost imperceptible. Scrub through a few hours worth of recordings. Same small voice appears at infrequent intervals. Take the track into computer to analyze. Try to isolate extra voice. There it is. Extra voice sounds unmistakably childlike. MFW, I realize that I've unintentionally captured EVPs of a sad little spirit girl trying eagerly to sing along. Trapped alone in that old empty building for decades. Finally a chance to have her tiny voice heard. Blood turns to ice while tears stream down my face. No proof because of course the files were lost. Thinking of that sad little girl still gives me sleepless nights. Wonder if I should go visit her from time to time, but also hell no. But never my own name being called. These threads are both scary and comforting because they remind me of the strange stuff that happened to me over the years. Be in early grade school. Sleeping with sister and mom in large bed. Wake up for no reason, laying on my side, facing the wall. I hear my name being whispered above me like above from the ceiling. Gentle, comforting voice, like the voice of God in The Prince of Egypt is probably best way to describe it. Anon. Frozen with fear. Anon. The voice is clearly not my mom or sister's voice, can even hear one of them snoring slightly. Anon. Too scared to look up, act like I'm asleep. Eventually fall back to sleep after hearing my name once more. Later learn about story of the Lord calling Samuel at night. For longest time think the Lord was trying to talk to me that night and I ignored him. Hope this isn't coming off too preachy. Other weird thing that happened to me later in life. Be Christian Anon. In college dorm room with roommate. Have been worried about my sister all week because she's doing bad in college. She is stressed out, worried she'll flunk, very unlike her. Try to take nap to take my mind off it all. Have night terror like dream during nap about my sister getting kicked out of college, her crying, everyone sad in dream. Suddenly feel extreme comfort over me. Feel someone's hand gently placed on my shoulder. Here it will be okay. It is under control whispered behind my ear. Is that my roommate? Didn't sound like his voice. Start waking up. Hand lets go of my shoulder. Wake up fully expecting my roommate to be over me trying to comfort me. Roommate is on other side of room studying listening to music doing his own thing. Realize my back is against the corner of the room, bed is in corner of the room. Physically no way for someone to place their hand on my shoulder or whisper behind my ear. Dazed and confused rest of day. One of my friends stops by to say hi later, probably notices I look disheveled. Small chit chat, tell him about my concerns. He says something towards end of conversation, and you know, it'll be okay. God has it under control. Immediately wide awake like I drink 5 shots of espresso. My sister started doing better in college and she didn't flunk out. It was all okay after all. Never had that happen before or since. Used to work for power company in Nevada desert. Be checking geothermal wells for work. Near Indian reservation, but not in east walking distance. Come up on Indian woman pushing a stroller in the middle of the road. Honk horn, she's in the way, she quickly scrambles out of the way. Drive past, but feel bad for scaring her and wonder if she's okay since in the middle of nowhere with the stroller. Stop to ask if she's okay but neither she or the stroller are anywhere to be seen. Flat desert with low scrub, maybe if she moved fast and laid flat on her stomach I might not see her, but there wasn't time or space to hide the stroller and baby. Kind of anticlimactic, but it spooked me at the time. One more from me, this one is the scary one. Teenage aged Anon. Having continual nightmares over a couple weeks. They are escalating, and always seem to be set inside my actual house, which is very unusual. One started off with black shadow cat coming into front door of house and screaming at me. Another is being chased by something around house that I can't see. Enter worst nightmare. Starts off with me sitting in bed, also very unusual. Hear front house door slam open. Hear something rush inside my mom's room. Screaming, her bedroom door slams shut. Hear it go to sister's room. Screaming, her bedroom door slams shut. Sister runs into my room screaming to close the door. She is frantically trying to close the door. I join her unsure of what's going on. Suddenly it runs up to the door fighting to keep it open. Get good close-up look at it. Things is covered in a black dress that is transparent around the edges. Has wide-brimmed witch's hat. Extremely vivid look at face. Hyper-realistic half-horse skull face, half-corpsey face. Looks kind of like Pick related but 3x scarier and more human looking, and like someone bashed their face in. It's screaming in my face like it's mocking us while we're both screaming trying to close the door shut. Wake up drenched in sweat. Few nights later wide awake. Can't sleep for some reason. Intense dread hits me. Hear weird clicking noises around room. Dark shadowy mass appears at end of bed with orange beady eyes. Feel like I'm about to die for no reason. Start praying for protection from God. It dissolves away immediately. All feeling of dread goes away. Tears in eyes, pass out likely from shock. Wake up feeling rested for once. It was years until I had an actual nightmare. I don't know if the nightmare which was related to the Black Mass, but goodness gracious, I get goosebumps every time I recall this all. This actually happened. It is not supernatural or really exciting, but very disturbing. About 20 years ago, my friend and his brother loved scaring themselves by going to haunted houses and walking around. I live in a rural area and there are plenty of abandoned shacks and farmhouses around. They were both horror fanatics, and for them, going to these places was like being in a real-life horror movie. They heard there was an old shack and there was a rumor that Satanists used it to meet up, have rituals, whatever they do. We parked the car and headed into the woods where we were told it was. We walked a very long time into the woods and encountered a broken down farmhouse. They walked around it and they were both scared and excited by being there. My friend told me it wasn't the one we were looking for, so we walked even deeper into the woods looking for the satanic shack. There was a fairly large old piece of aluminum sticking out of the ground, and as we walked past it made a popping sound and they almost shit their pants. I thought it was hilarious to see them act this way. We got very deep and finally there was a clearing. There was an old shack in the clearing. The shack was not completely decrepit like the other house, it was also painted completely black. It really did look very scary. The clearing had been maintained some and I could see a small power line going into the top. It had power and people had definitely been there. Now we are all shitting our pants looking at this foreboding place out in the middle of some very dense woods. We go inside and there is no furniture of any kind and it is fairly dusty. There was one larger room right when you go in the door, but still very small as rooms go, about the size of 2 master bedrooms. There is a smaller room that was connected to this room by a very short hall. No bathroom or kitchen. Just 2 rooms. We walked around and looked at both rooms. Nothing very interesting. My friend's brother had made a discovery in the second room. It was an old Polaroid instant photo. What it was a naked girl about 8 years old, standing in a coffin. We were all really terrified after seeing this and ran back to the car as fast as we could. No, we did not keep the photo. Just got freaked out badly and left. His brother had carefully picked it up by one corner, so no, his fingerprints were not on it. We talked about satanic rumors we had heard about and were all really incredulous. I felt some nausea deep in my stomach. We never really discussed this ever again and basically pretended like this never happened. It still really disturbs me to think there is some kind of satanic activity going on in my small town completely hidden from sight. I don't think about this much anymore, but when I do, I still get that deep nausea feeling. Join girlfriend and her family to pay respects at their grandparents' gravesite. Eventually turns into social gathering event. Take a few family photos while there. Later going through photos of girlfriend. Suddenly see face between her and another family member. Looks like a young kid's disembodied face floating off the ground facing the camera. Blood runs cold, don't know what to think. Get courage to look at picture again. Realize it is actually their younger cousin that squeezed into the picture and the angle was weird. In the mid-90s I was living in a medium-sized city that wasn't terribly rural, but there was a lot of farmland and random patches of emptiness/trees. Generally quiet, but any of the rural stretches seemed very brief in a car. Anyway, I was 16 but didn't have a car yet and wanted to go to a party. But it was a ways away, like a good 2-hour walk. I figured I'd wind up crashing there and getting a ride back in the morning, and it was a summer evening so it wasn't dark until well after 8. I had what seemed like a 50-50th shot at getting late if I showed, so you know what decision I made. First leg of the walk is just the residential area I'm starting from. Sidewalks, yards, boring houses. Next stretch is down a sort of major road that has more businesses and stuff, which lets me stop for a drink and some sunflower seeds. Then it starts getting a little more rural, curvy roads through farm fields. It's still light out, maybe 7-ish. There's probably a word for it, but have you ever been somewhere and just noticed how quiet and eerie a place was? It wasn't even that quiet, there was bugs and some birds making noise. Whatever the case, it just felt off. It being light out made it feel no less creepy. Just made my skin crawl, you know? I got in my head about it but kept moving. There's no sidewalk at this part, just the shoulder. There's a couple cars but that's it. Then out of fucking nowhere a guy comes fucking tearing out of the corn across the road. It's not so much that he was running, just kinda moving quick to get out of it. He's an adult, dressed normal, some sort of button-up shirt and office pants. I kinda just freeze and he says, "Hey man, did you hear anything?" He's friendly seeming but this is all weird and I didn't hear anything, so I say no and he curses and starts walking back the direction I came. I get to the party, all is fine. Don't get laid, do get drunk. Good enough. So we take the same basic route. I walk back. And I see the fucking cornfield guy at the gas station, next to this big black SUV thing. Same clothes, and he's looking right at us. I don't know why but this time I got really freaked out. My friend and his brother tell me to stop being gay and soon I get dropped off. Rest of the day is uneventful. I'm up all night on the 90s internet because it was still fun then. My windows are closed but it's a quiet enough neighborhood that like, you can hear it and kinda see the little change in lighting when a car goes by. I hear one come by, then again like 30 seconds later, then again, and then the kinda slow crunchy their parking sound. I stop paying attention. Then I hear my downstairs screen door open and then the metal mail slot on our main door. My parents were asleep and I'm like pretty sure I'm hearing all this, but not sure enough that I want to risk going in their room and waking them up over bullshit. You know how it is when you're a teenager. Also wouldn't be the first time a friend or someone did some kind of prank, which is kind of where my head went. So I get down there and do my Ghost Recon style slinking around to peek out cracks in the window shades. No unusual cars anywhere, no people, no new sounds, seems like the screen door is closed. So I nut up and go toward the front door and down below the mail slot all over the floor are sunflower seed shells. Anyway, I wish there was a dramatic reveal here but that's mostly it. I'm 100% sure I've seen the guy/car a lot of times in the nearly 30 years since, always exactly the same. And I've moved, both within that same area and to considerable distances away, still sure I've seen him. Every few months. He never does anything. Live in an area where just outside of town weather can change drastically faster than in town due to elevation. And about 45 night driving for work ends up with the light snowing in a small village at these higher elevations. Pull over at the local taco truck to buy a water and ask the guy for directions for parking. Nobody ever answers window even though I can hear radio and equipment. Look around parking lot and see a teenish guy just walking around but not acting suspicious. Decide to drive down a block. See another similar build teen standing on the corner of a residential block looking straight up, eyes closed. Decide the weather is gonna get worse and that's a good excuse to go home. Flip a U-turn when further down but even though it was light snow, my vehicle does a minor spin out and end up horizontal in the middle of the road. Freak out a tiny bit but check everything is working. Hear a light scrape so I think I hit a branch and look out mirror. there is a man standing right to my right with all black clothes and pale perfectly blank mask. I hit the gas maybe a little too hard and burn out a tiny bit, but get moving. The first kid in the parking lot is now running in his original direction, staring straight up. Drive back down into town and never work in that area at night again. During the day I swear there's like crowds of people walking around, I have no idea what was going on. 2020. Driving at night. See a roadwork area up ahead in an unlit area, vineyards everywhere. Very dark out, lights on my car weren't too bright either. About 50 meters from the first safety road sign I see slight movement. Something picks up the sign and runs off into the vines. I say run, but this thing fucking sprinted, carrying a sign weighing, by my estimate, 30-40 kilograms, 80 pounds estimate. I was driving at around 60 kilometers/h. This thing was easily approaching WR sprint speed. It was dark as I said, but all I saw was the reflective safety sign as it disappeared into the vines. Be me. Need to clear my head, having problems focusing and also getting depressed. Purchase 5 grams of powerful psilocybin truffles online. Go for hike in the mountains. JPEG. Eat half the bag. Hour goes by and I feel nothing, so eat the entire bag. Feeling something now. Shit, maybe I shouldn't have eaten the entire bag. Sky turns dark and cloudy. A large number of ravens fly down from the mountain. Not good, they are anticipating bad weather. Sky starts getting dark and weird, cloudy like tornado type clouds. I make it to a canyon with a waterfall and shelter. Start thinking of my issues, going deep into them. Raining now. Soaking but don't really care. Absorbed in thought, focusing on my breath. Start getting to the root of my problem, something to do with fears holding me back, and start to realize it can be overcome by breathing correctly and focusing. Tripping balls. JPEG. Rain now coming down sideways in buckets. I have good gear on, so don't really care. My dog is struggling though. Breathing getting deeper and more focused. Totally fixated on it. Weather conditions getting really bad, start walking back, been walking a couple hours at this stage. Back down in the foothills, my breathing and focus lock in, fear lifts off me. In the same instant rain just stops completely and weather clears. Okay Anons, I haven't really checked in on 4chan for a long time, most of my online time wasting is spent on Discord these days, but figured since I have something worth sharing I wanted to come back and contribute. It's been so long I don't even know if I remember how to Greentext properly, so pardon my likely fuck up with formatting. Moved back to temporarily live with parents in their upper middle class suburb after a contentious breakup with my ex earlier this year. Figure it'd save me a bunch of money on rent and wanted to take some time off the dating market for a while, so no need for my own place at the moment, and I get along with parents, so don't judge me too harshly, okay? I'm not a need. Anyways, in the neighborhood there was this youngish couple with a kid who I'd seen around on occasion while walking my parents' dog. They seem nice, wave and such, though the woman is deaf, kinda witchy or alt looking. Typically saw her wearing black clothes with band names, silver jewelry, etc. Don't think much of it, whatever. The neighborhood is mostly comprised of yuppie types, but there are a few more eccentric types here and there. Hear rumors from some other women at the park while walking dog that this woman is supposedly a Satanist or pagan or something. They don't let their children play with the witch's kid. This week the witch's house burned down. No survivors. Hear from somebody who claims to be friends with one of the local cops that it was some kind of murder-suicide situation. But there's more. They lived on the road that was next to the Arboretum, a different thing from the park elsewhere in the neighborhood. It's basically just a big nature preserve with some trails. The Arboretum is cordoned off as part of a crime scene. The rumor is that something bad also happened in the woods. This all just happened this week. I snapped the picture tonight walking past it. I've got one story to share, fairly long because it needs context, kinda. 2024, my pet dog is 15 years old, way past her life expectancy, should have croaked at 10, 12 tops. Had a really good life until her last year, when her teeth started falling out. Vet gave her a lot of medicine, but nothing worked. On her last 2 months she couldn't even eat properly, either due to pain on her gums or not knowing how to do so with only a handful of teeth. Have a lot of cavities, have pulled many of my teeth too, so I know just how fucking bad it can get. I legitimately considered shooting myself many times due to how excruciating it can be, but the dentist isn't open in the early morning and you can't sleep, so it's a good 12+ hours of pain. Due to knowing how painful it can be, I took her to many other vets, but there was just nothing to do. The dog would open up her wounds over and over again because she's a fucking dog, i.e. dumb, and she's extremely old so she wouldn't heal up fast. Don't want to let her go, I'm selfish, so she spends her last week in excruciating pain. I deserve to go to hell for this. All of my other sins have nothing on this one, at least in my opinion. The day before we put her down she was just lying in her bed moaning in pain, trying and failing to keep some food in her stomach. I can't do anything but cry beside her. I wanted her to sleep beside me for the last time, but I knew she got up every 2 hours or so to eat and drink, and she could no longer jump out of my bed with ease. I wake up to the dog moaning, not that I could sleep properly that night. Knew it's time, so it's just a matter of waiting for the vet to open. I didn't even have the balls to hold her paw as the lights went out. I couldn't stop crying, so my mom was the one that sent her off. We bury her in a little box inside the mausoleum my great-great-grandfather built ages ago. I have actually never lost someone dear to me before, so this breaks me. Don't want to eat, skipped work, want to skip work the whole week, I can't think clearly, I want to die. If a pet dying hurts this fucking much, I genuinely don't know what I'll do when it's my parents' turn. Crash at 4 AM or so. Not sure if I was hallucinating, but right before I drifted off to sleep, I swear I saw a tiny white shadow jump on my bed. Wake up crying. Try, and fail, to get my shit together so I can go to work. Day is a blur until I get home. Again I'm devastated because my little dog wasn't there to greet me. Eat and go to sleep. This time I see it clearly, there was a small white shadow in a corner, just sitting there I guess. I'm not scared. Throw the covers over my head and cry myself to sleep. This happens 4 more times. On the 6th night I realize my dog can't rest because I still refuse to let her go. Even though it sounds crazy, I face the white shadow and tell her it's okay to leave because I'll be fine, probably. It's still there. I apologize for not ending her suffering as soon as I could, and for not letting her have pups, my biggest mistake honestly. It wouldn't have hurt this much if I could have something to remember her by. I don't wait for a response, I just turn around and cry. This time, I shit you not, felt something jump on my bed and snuggle to my back. Didn't want to turn around, not out of fear, but because my dog would never leave if I did. The next day, night, rather, the shadow is no longer there. I'm both happy and sad about it. That's it, this is so far the only paranormal experience I've had. I'm not sure how to feel about it. I've heard animals have no soul, so the white shadow was probably a demon mocking my suffering, but even if it was, I'm glad it had a change of heart at the last second and comforted me, kind of. Be me, very young. Parents sent twin brother and I to bed for the evening. Fuck that, we just got an Xbox. Pretend to sleep in our room and sneak out after some time. Peek into the living room to make sure all family members are there, range hot.png. After making sure we were clear, we snuck into our older sister's room, as that is where that sweet brick box was waiting. Leave the door slightly open and leave the lights off to enhance discretion. Upon turning the TV and Xbox on, my twin and I bumbled about the main menu as we had no idea what the fuck we were trying to do. Here comes the fun. I had been sitting with my back facing the closet and my twin brother was sitting parallel to me but facing the closet. As we're fucking around on the Xbox home dashboard, I heard what sounded like one of the metal hangers in the closet scrape the metal bar it was hanging on as though they were being parted. For the life of me I don't know why, but I gave not a flying fuck. My twin brother on the other hand had a much different reaction. He looks past me and up towards the closet, eyes open so wide he probably saw a ghost LOL, and he gets up and tears ass out of the room without a word. This didn't faze me, however. I continued to mess around with the Xbox when I heard a female voice from right behind me whisper my name in a hushed but soothing fashion, Ayanun. I immediately turned to face the closet where all I could see was the pitch black shape of a person seemingly darker than the dark of the closet stepping out towards me. I bounced and remember nothing after. This has happened to me. Me and two friends were camping in our local trails. This neighborhood all had houses that backed into trees and then ditches and retention ponds. You couldn't really get lost, as there were always houses in the distance. We decided to camp and make a fire just to do something. We were like 16 to 17 at the time. We were sitting on the ground near the tent we made. It was starting to get dark. We camped on the edge of a hill that led to a small river-like thing that fed retention ponds, and on the other side was a hill that you could walk about 40 yards and hit the other neighborhood. Again, we weren't like out there camping, we were just in the woods between houses. Suddenly, exactly like you mentioned, we hear walking. Like, clearly the tempo of a human that's walking carefully down the hill. I look over at my friend and he heard it too, and I ask him if he heard that. We look over at our other friend who was standing a few feet away and he stopped what he was doing too. It was so clear I was worried some homeless guy was going to come fuck with us. The walking and the crunching leaves sound continues and we start whispering like, what the fuck should we do? And I don't see anything, what is it? Finally, after the longest 40 seconds of hearing someone right across this small river, on the slope, I muster up the deepest voice I can, I'm a teenager, and say, hey, who the fuck is over there? Silence. We look at each other. My friend takes the cue and says something similar. My third friend throws a rock. Nothing. Silence. We all look at each other and nope, out of there. We came back later that night with a shotgun and collected all of our stuff and then ran back home again. It was the most clearly something is over there, we just need to be brave enough to face it, turned to holy shit, we need to get the fuck out of here moment I've had. I completely assumed we were being stalked, but the pattern of it being human was scary. I'm going down this rabbit hole, I want to know more. Is there any YouTube videos I can watch? I've seen Epstein's Visitum seeing him transform, and the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins seeing a transformation. I need to know more, cause if these things actually exist this is really bad. How is this possible? My neighbor just brought our cat to my front door. We haven't left the house. I had to unlock the door to answer and our cat was just in the house. There's no other openings or windows. I live indoor building. Before anyone says there must be some way it got out, there is no way. Hiya, I just want to note that too many of the posts on here are about sleep paralysis, and how to stop it. Okay, I'm not exactly sure if this is wanted in this community, but nonetheless, it is very needed. I see so many posts about sleep paralysis here. Some people are getting scared about it, thinking they have seen a genuine paranormal creature. And by all means, if you want to believe that, you did, go ahead, but if you don't want to experience it again, read this, because people who have it are cluttering this community up with something unrelated to the paranormal. Yes, it is an official subject in this community, but I literally just came across a post where an adult thought they had superpowers, so I'm just trying to clear this up. Sleep paralysis is a state where your body is asleep but your mind is aware and awake. You are paralyzed and cannot move at all. Most people experience this at least once in their life, and some experience it multiple times, including me. Sleep paralysis is not paranormal, it's literally you hallucinating, and no, not in a bad way or crazy way, it's essentially a dream. I've experienced it a couple times a month ever since I was a child. It's scary at first, but once you realize it's in your head, you can just get rid of whatever you see and hear, or change it into something cool, hell, even sexy. You just have to truly believe you can. If you see something, just focus on it and really focus on changing it into something else. What works for me is just believing I can just make it look like my partner and get her to sleep next to me. It works and calms me so I can just fall asleep, when really she's just at work late and will join me in the morning. You can learn to enter a dream through this too. I'm not going to go into it since that's not what this post is about, neither the community. This post is about stopping people from experiencing scary things while in sleep paralysis, since it can be a genuine and utter terrifying thing. But once you realize you can control it, you're going to be okay. I just wanted to clear this up, and anyone who experiences this or has in the past, please just take what I said and truly believe it, because at the end of the day it's your mind and you can change it and will if you believe you can. And no, I'm not saying you have some superpower, again, it's in your head. FYI, this works for hearing during SP as well. No one has your key. I'm Jack, 21, a part-time mechanic. I live alone in a small, old apartment above a closed garage. Most nights are quiet, and I usually like that. But last week, something happened that made me question what I thought was normal. It was a Monday. I finished work late, around 11 p.m. I was too tired to cook, so I grabbed some instant noodles and settled in front of my laptop. Around 1:30 a.m., I went to brush my teeth before bed. When I came back to the living room, I noticed my front door wasn't fully closed. I never leave it like that. I'm usually careful. I always check it twice before bed. At first, I thought maybe I hadn't pushed it all the way when I got home. But then I saw something else. The kitchen light was on. I never leave it on. My stomach sank. I quietly grabbed the wrench I keep under the couch, more from instinct than thinking it would help, and slowly moved toward the kitchen. Everything looked normal. No one was there. Nothing was moved. Then I noticed it, a cupboard slightly ajar. I swear I had closed it when I cooked. Inside, a small knife from my kitchen block was missing. I didn't hear anything else that night, but I didn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards made my heart jump. The next morning, I called my landlord and asked if anyone else had keys to my apartment. He said no. The locks hadn't been tampered with. Nothing. Over the next few days, I started noticing small things: my trash bin emptied overnight, a shirt I hadn't worn lying on the bathroom floor, a faint smell of cigarettes even though I don't smoke. Then, one night, I was fixing a car at the garage around 10 p.m. I saw someone at the edge of the lot, crouching behind the old delivery truck. I froze. They didn't move. Just watched. I turned on the lights, and they disappeared. After that, I installed a camera inside my apartment. I only had it for 2 nights. The footage showed a man in his mid-30s, wearing a hoodie, going through my kitchen drawers while I was asleep in my bedroom. He paused, looked at the camera, and then just left. The police never found him. There was no forced entry. No fingerprints. Nothing. Now, I check the locks 3 times every night. I sleep with the lights on and the wrench by my side. I keep telling myself it's over. But sometimes, I hear soft noises in the kitchen while I'm brushing my teeth. I can't shake the feeling that someone is still watching, knowing every move I make. Curious sighting. Update: I went to the business where the parking was located and asked them to check their security tapes from that night and gave them my email and phone number to contact me if they saw anything. They probably thought I was crazy, but I am okay with that, lol. Hey guys, my name is Madison and I just want to preface this post by saying I am not a skeptic of the otherworldly, but my boyfriend is. I also do not drink. I am sober. We were driving home from Rookies tonight on 92 to our house in Hereford. We had just left the Speedway parking lot, no one else is on the road, and all of a sudden, at 60 miles an hour, something that looked human jumped in front of my car. I screamed, swerved, and straight away turned around to see if I had hit anything. As soon as I turned around, my boyfriend yelled, "What was that?" He pointed to a parking lot and said, "I just saw something at least 7 feet tall run in there," and when he said run, he meant run. Not like a human or a deer, like full sprint. He said at least over 20 miles per hour. So we speed into this parking lot to see what it was. Mind you, this entire ordeal has been about 45 seconds now, and as soon as we get into this lot we see nothing. And this lot is completely lit up by lights and a parking lot. Not a ton of places to hide, and not to mention anything that we know of right now that stands on 2 legs, does not run that fast. Let alone completely disappear. We saw no remnants of anything, no sounds, no kicking up of dust, no puddles, clearly just disturbed. It had been raining all day, no doors opening or closing, nothing. I do not believe that whatever it was had any interest in us whatsoever, but it was chilling. We had to figure out what it was because we were speechless. We had no idea and still don't. We thought of all the fastest animals that could be in our area, and they are all ruled out by how tall what we saw was, and it was 100% not human. This is a PSA for anyone in the area. Has anybody else seen anything remotely close to this? If not recently, ever. This is not a joke, not a drill, this is real.
Are you a targeted individual? Have you had a paranormal encounter, or are the victim of an unregulated government experiment and would like to share your story with us? Would you like to send us some fan mail or a hate-filled rant? Do you have an idea for a future episode or wish to send a complaint to HR? Email us at atomicshamanSweatlodge@protonmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Greentext stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.